Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what Denver Startup Week is and who's involved, then talk about ways you can get involved, go through the calendar for this year, as well as the session submission process. We'll hear from each track chair with an overview of what they're looking for submissions, and we'll have lots of time for Q&A at the end. But please do feel free to add your questions in the chat and the Q&A function throughout our presentation. So Denver Startup Week is organized by a lot of terrific volunteers. These are organizing chairs. Ben, Data, and Eric Midisek are two of the co-founders of Startup Week, and Tammy Dorr is the CEO of the Downtown Denver Partnership. We're also super grateful for all of our volunteer organizing committee members that you see here, who are superstars that help us with strategy and content throughout the year, and you'll get a chance to hear from almost every one of them in a little bit. Finally, you've got myself, Chantal Albee. I'm the manager of Startup Week, as well as Kate Barton, who's the VP of the Executive Office and Special Projects at DDP. And I'm going to turn it over to Kate to talk a little bit about what to expect this year.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Denver Startup Week. We are so excited to kick it off with all of you, and thank you all for being here. So we are really excited this year to start thinking about our October event. So Startup Week is October 4th through 8th, 2020, and we are planning on a hybrid event. So last year we pivoted and went virtual. Many of you, I'm seeing familiar names in the attendee list. Many of you were part of that event. And this year, as we think about coming together as a community, we wanted to do a couple of things. So we are going to have all of our sessions hosted virtually. Similar to last year, all of the sessions will be held on Zoom. Panelists can be in one place if you want to do that and set it up for yourself, or can be virtual, similar to how we're doing today. And then all content will be streamed live to the DSW site. Very, very similar to last year. One of the things that we love about this is it creates incredible accessibility and access for folks, not only in Denver, but beyond. Last year, we had people from all over the country and throughout the world joining us for Startup Week, as well as speakers from all over. And this virtual format allows us to do that, as well as creates additional accessibility and access and inclusivity across all that we do. We are also planning, and we're really, really looking forward to coming together in person where it's safe. Of course, we want to make sure that we are doing things that allow folks to pick your own adventure and really make sure that you have your own way to work through the event. But we will be holding select in-person events where possible, and we'll be sending more information about that to the community as we learn more about the local guidelines around coming together in person. We're looking at things like watch parties and mentorship, things that you can do in small groups, because we know that that in-person connection is what makes Startup Week so special. And so we want to have that for everything. There will be options. We really, really want you to be able to choose your own Startup Week adventure. So as you're thinking about your virtual sessions, please make sure that it's something that's super compelling and might be something that people might want to watch together. There'll be options for everyone, but we are really looking forward to coming together as a community. And as always, some of our best ideas come from you. So if you have ideas about how we can further this hybrid event, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to hear your ideas. But mark your calendars, it's going to be great, and we're looking forward to working with all of you on it. So next we are going to turn it over to one of my colleagues to talk about Startup Week. I think it's Diane, to talk about Startup Week and what you can expect. Am I wrong?
I was on mute. Hi, I'm Diane, and I'm the DE&I track chair. I'm the DE&I chair. And Denver Startup Week is by the community for the community. As the largest free entrepreneurial event of its kind, Denver Startup Week hustles to unite the Denver entrepreneurial community, connect and learn from each other always and forever for free. We celebrate our city's great companies, innovation, ideas, and people. So Denver Startup Week 2020 by the numbers. So we had an amazing virtual event, 231 free sessions, events and happy hours, job fairs, workout classes and celebrations, 10,000 plus registered attendees. And like Kate said, from all over the world. We had 23,000 plus views on YouTube Live, and 49 US states were represented. 32 countries. 52% of our attendees were women and 42% were men, and 6% were of other or declined to say. So Denver Startup Week got 300,000, 341,000, I know how to count, guys, distinct page views on the Denver Startup Week website. And now I am going to turn it over to Rob.
Thanks, Diane. Hey, everybody. So I am here to talk about how to get involved. So this one's kind of obvious. It's probably why most of you are here today, is the option to present or speak at Denver Startup Week. There are ample opportunities for this. I'm not going to dive too deep here. You're going to listen and hear from many of our track chairs. We have our 8 tracks. They'll tell you about the application process, how to submit, and eventually how to be approved to become a presenter or a speaker at Denver Startup Week. But that is not the only way to get involved. One of my all-time favorites is sponsorship. As the sponsorship activator myself, I can tell you there are many ways to really get a deeper investment into Denver Startup Week. And as everyone's already mentioned so far, Denver Startup Week is an entirely free event to our attendees, and that is purely because of the generosity of our sponsors. So each year, a number of companies, individuals step up, invest in Denver Startup Week at different levels. If this is something that you or your company is interested in, please let us know. You can reach out to myself, you can reach out to Chantel, you can reach out to Kate, and we'll set up a time to discuss with you the various levels of sponsorship that are available, whether it's sponsoring a specific event, whether it is sponsoring at a specific level. We can really work around what makes the most sense for you or your company. Beyond sponsorship, we also have the option to volunteer. So this one is one of my favorites because, you know, Denver Startup Week is truly built on our volunteer effort. All of us are volunteers here on the organizing committee, but beyond that, for the functionality of our events from day to day, we just simply couldn't get it done without the help of our volunteers. So I encourage you to reach out to your colleagues, your friends, your family, and work with us to figure out where you all can step in for what events, for what purpose. And it might actually lead to you being able to see some of these great speakers. There are definitely pluses to being a volunteer, but don't think that being a volunteer specifically for an event is the last way you can get involved. You can also just encourage your colleagues, friends, and family to just attend events. That's obviously a huge piece to this, right? We're always looking for participation numbers to go up. And then finally, we have our social media, our beyond category for involvement, right? So what we're talking about here is you've seen newsletters come from Denver Startup Week. We can highlight certain companies. We have an ongoing blog throughout the week. We accept submissions for all of these things. We have our Instagram handles, we have our Twitter, we have everything under the sun, all of our socials. So we really want everybody to be truly as involved as possible on all of the fronts. So if you have any questions about any of that, we'll provide a little bit more detail about how you, even from your home office, can stay super involved and right at the front of all that Denver Startup Week has to offer. So any questions, direct them our way, but for now, I'll pass it on to Jay to talk about the submission and selection process.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I think what a lot of you are here for today, which is our call for proposals, call for events during the week. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the process for that, what to expect throughout that process, and some of the things that we look for as we ultimately are looking to put together that slate of events. So first of all, what the process itself looks like. So we have 4 phases that we go through. So we have submissions, which will open on May 10th, in a little bit under a week. There will be a form open on the website. There's an email that will go out as well. And you'll have the ability to sign in and fill out your submission or submissions with all of the details of your event idea. And that'll run for about a month. We'll talk more about the timeline here in a bit. After that, we'll have a voting period where we take all those submissions and open them up for public feedback. So the idea is that that's a way for us to get a sense of what the community is excited to hear about. It's certainly not the only feedback into the selection process, but it's definitely a valuable one for us to understand what the sort of more public pulse looks like. Finally, after that, we spend a little bit of time on the committee and in subcommittees for each track, ultimately figuring out that set of that set of submissions, excuse me, that move on to the final selection and ultimately the final program. And then finally, once we've done that committee review, we'll relay that decision to you, and that may be one of three options. You can be accepted, you can be declined, and you can also be waitlisted. So depending on exactly how things unfold, you'll get an email with one of those three decisions, a little bit ahead of when we release the schedule. If we can go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about what the components of a submission looks like. So broadly speaking, we have two sets of things that we ask for. One is a set of public information that will be part of that voting process, as well as ultimately the basis of what we expose to the public when the schedule is actually live. You'll be able to change that at points in the future, but when we're evaluating it, we're looking at it from the perspective of attendees and what attendees would ultimately see. And then the other set of information is really just for reviewers to ultimately make that decision about a particular submission and whether we feel like it's the right fit. So the public components are going to be the title of your session, which track it's in, a public-facing description. So as I said, when we're reviewing these, you really want to think about this from the perspective of the public. And so we want to be using that lens and looking for things that really are sort of engaging and things that really speak to the Denver Startup Week audience. You'll also be asked for your session format, whether it's a workshop, a panel, a presentation, social events, something else, as well as the length of your session. This year, we'll be doing 30, 60, or 90-minute slots. If folks you remember last year, we had 10-minute slots as well, which we're not doing this year. Second set of information is the set of things that are not public or just for us to review. So a few pieces of information there. Depending on the track, you may be asked for a video. So the goal of this is to really sort of understand how you come across in a video medium, and sort of understand how you'll make use of the sort of virtual format that Kate described earlier to come across to that audience. You'll also be asked for collaborators and or panelists. We realize that you won't necessarily have these sort of fully locked in yet, but having an idea of where your head's at and what you're intending to do really gives us a good sense for where you're going with a panel or with a workshop that has multiple presenters, and helps us really sort of understand your vision for what your event will ultimately look like. You'll have the ability to include notes and a pitch to the reviewers to really sort of explain why you're the person who's uniquely qualified to put on this event, as well as some information about your intended target audience. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second in terms of what we're looking for there. And then finally, from a nuts and bolts perspective, we'll ask for your contact information, your email, your company, if you're submitting on behalf of a company. And you're also welcome to leave that blank if you're just doing an event as an individual. Then the last thing we'll ask for is that we'll ask you to acknowledge that you've read our code of conduct and our diversity, equity, and inclusion acknowledgement, and that you agree to abide by those as you're going through this process, as well as putting on your individual events. So just so everyone knows what this looks like, this is what we're asking you to acknowledge. So Denver Startup Week, we strive to make all of our sessions a space where attendees can connect, learn, and grow, regardless of gender identity, gender expression, race, ability, sexual orientation, and the combination of those identities. So our goal is to have an event that is accessible and inclusive of all, and we're excited to work with you all to support that and deliver that to all of our attendees and stakeholders. So this joke, I think I've run with this one a couple times, so apologies to folks that have seen this before. So a couple of different things that we're looking at for successful sessions. So we're looking for a mix of both inspiration and skill building from the content perspective. And then we're also looking for an appropriate breadth of both topics, different topic areas and different subjects for events, as well as varying levels of sophistication. So anything from beginner to intermediate to advanced. We want to make sure that we sort of cover off all of those bases to have a slate of events for everyone during the week that hits sort of a really broad swath of the startup community. So specifically, what does that look like for us to assemble that well-balanced program? So 4 axes that we're really looking at there. I mentioned sophistication. We're looking to have a mix of beginner, intermediate, and advanced sessions. So we want to have something for everyone within a particular topic area. There's a good chance that within the fairly wide audience that attend Denver Startup Week, there'll be folks who are very new to that topic, folks who are more intermediate, and folks who are more advanced. So we're looking for across most topic areas a mix of topics that are relevant to all those folks. We want to make sure that not all of our content is sort of elementary, and there's not something that addresses the advanced folks that really want to dig in deep on a particular topic area. And the reverse of that is also true. We want to make sure that that folks who have that entry level knowledge are aboard and they could really get the opportunity to go in. Industries and topics. We want to have a mix of things that are widely applicable versus things that are very sort of specific and niche and focused on either a particular topic area or a particular industry. And similarly, we want to make sure that we have topics that are both sort of specific to trends, specific to things that are directly on people's mind for 2021, as well as things that are more timeless, either skill building or topics that folks tend to come up with over and over again. Having a mix of all of those things is highly valuable. Format-wise, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we're looking for a mix of skill building topics, things that are very sort of nuts and bolts, as well as things that are storytelling, interesting and compelling stories, as well as things that are inspirational or aspirational. All of those have a place in the program, and none of the 3 is better than the other. We want to make sure that we've got a really good mix of all of those. And then finally, with the presenters and panelists directly, we want to make sure that those represent a broad range of perspectives and companies and backgrounds. And this is really where, particularly from a panelist and collaborators perspective, painting that full picture of who you're working with and how you expect that to come together really helps us understand the breadth of what you're planning for that session and sort of how it plays into that broader goal of getting as many perspectives as we possibly can into the presenting roles as part of the week. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Olivia Omega to talk a little bit about do's and don'ts.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jay. I am excited to be here. I wish I could see everyone's faces, but I'm going to dive into the do's and don'ts. My name's Olivia Omega, and I'm your founder track chair for Denver Startup Week. And I'm basically going to go over and reiterate what Jay has already talked about. But because I'm reiterating it, you know that it is very important. So some of the do's as you're submitting your sessions, and I actually submitted quite a few sessions years ago before I started volunteering with Denver Startup Week. So I know firsthand how to not get picked and how to get picked. The first one is making sure that you give first. So at Denver Startup Week, we want to support our community. We are a family. We are a community here in Denver as startups, as entrepreneurs, et cetera. I remember the very, very first pitch I gave a long time ago. I was literally wanting to talk about myself as a coach and a consultant for branding. And my goal was to get clients. I didn't get picked. We want to make sure that this is a no sales zone. So make sure you bring your best stuff to share with the community, to give first without the initial thought of wanting to gain. Be concise and polished. I personally go through 300 submissions a year. So when things are short and sweet and very to the point, it helps make all of our jobs easier to get through our submissions and to really find what's good and what will work for the community. Show us the diversity and experience of your panelists. Jay mentioned there will be a spot on your submission to add who your panelists are. A lot of times we don't have all of those logistics figured out, but instead of leaving it blank, and allowing us to kind of try to guess and imagine, who you're bringing in. Give us some ideas. Who would you like to bring in as your panel? Who would you reach out to once you get chosen? Consider your audience. Understand that Denver Startup Week has a wide audience, from those who are just thinking about starting a business, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, co-founders, startups, small businesses, etc. So think about that as you're submitting, and create a topic that is specifically for an audience. One quick example I'll give, and Jay mentioned this about the different levels, is instead of something that's so broad, like how to build a website, maybe get into something that's a little bit more niche, like how to optimize your Shopify to increase your revenue. Something that might be a little too narrow from an audience perspective is how to optimize your Shopify for your sneaker shop. That might be a little bit too narrow. So hopefully that gives you an example. Submit on time using the portal. We have a notoriously community that are last minute people, which is fine. I'm totally that way too, who submit at midnight, but get your stuff in early and make sure you hit that deadline. A couple things not to do, and I mentioned this already, Jay, I think mentioned it, but don't pitch your products or services. We really get turned off by that, so don't do it. Be ambiguous, making sure that when you're submitting your proposals, that it isn't all about you and your business. And I will say this too, that bringing in a variety of speakers on your panel from different backgrounds, different businesses, maybe even potentially competitors or businesses that complement yours is great. Do not abuse the system. I think we're repeating ourselves here, but not abusing the system as far as taking advantage of the community and really coming in with a sales mentality. Don't duplicate submissions. So sometimes we'll have people submit in the founder track and then submit the same session in growth and submit the same session in people in order to increase their chances. Well, we all talk to each other and have open communication, so that doesn't help your chances. Don't do that either. And then don't worry about logistics. I want to drill this home. After you've submitted your session, we get a lot of questions of, now what? What Zoom link will I have? Is this virtual? How will I, organize my panelists? Where do I need to go for speaker orientation? And don't worry about any of that stuff. We have a great team, and that is our role, to pull together all the logistics once we get to that point. So once you all submit, lay back, chill, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much. I am not sure who I am handing it off to, but I'm sure they're great.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That was really nicely said. So I'm Michael. I'm the Maker Track chair. I also co-chair with someone else who come on in a moment and introduce himself as well. I know that Jay a little bit ago mentioned the selection process. What I'm going to do now is jump into the calendar to talk behind that submission process. So May 10th, we're going to open up calls for submissions. That's going to be 1 month that's going to be open. So make sure to submit. I think Olivia mentioned something about us being last minute people. The earlier you submit it, the better. Just like Olivia said, if we're getting 300 submissions for her track and she's going through them, it's going to take a while, but if you submit it earlier, there's more time to get through each one. So just submit them whenever you have the chance, because June 11th, calls for submission will close. Then June 18th, public voting will begin. That'll be open 1 week. So ask your friends, your family to start voting on that, and remember to vote yourselves. And June 28th, public voting will end. Mid-July, session organizers will be notified. So if you are accepted, waitlisted, you'll be notified of that status. And then mid-August, the schedule is announced and then registration opens. So that's when finally you'll know the entire schedule for Denver Startup Week 2021, which will be super exciting. And as Kate mentioned earlier, Denver Startup Week is October 4th to 8th. So usually Denver Startup Week is in September. This year, it's going to be in October. So definitely mark your calendars for that month earlier on October 4th through 8th. And then, as a lot of you know, we have 8 amazing tracks. What we're going to do now is jump into each one of the tracks. We're going to have someone come on, one of the chairs from each of the tracks, and talk about what they're looking for submissions for 2021, and maybe give you a little bit of information as well. So let's get started with that. Ryan, do you want to go ahead and take it away?
Hey, yeah, Michael, thank you. Hey, everybody, I'm Ryan Margolis. I'm the product track chair, and the product track is all about bridging the gap between building a product people love and delivering it to market. So everything from product management to product development and product marketing, all sides of the same coin, and it's all about learning what are people asking for, how do you prioritize efforts, how do you justify ROIs for understanding, what's a great fit, and understanding who the stakeholders are for internal and external and all that good stuff. Product skills are in huge demand. There aren't a ton of places where you can go acquire them, though. It's not really a discipline taught in schools or anything like that. So how do you get into this track is also great content. How do you get into this discipline rather is great content. So everything product focused you can find there. Looking forward to seeing everybody's submissions this year. And I think we have Chad and Castle coming up next. Chad or Castle, you there?
Yep.
Oh,
I
sweet,
guess
right.
it looks like we might have lost Castle, but that's okay. Castle, if you're there, just chime in anytime.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yep. Okay, great.
Just don't know how to get the
Take it
video.
away. Take it away.
Oh. So may the 4th be with you, everyone, first of all. 10 years, Design Track's been doing all things creative, covering everything from UI, UX, experience design, food, graphic design, music, architecture, pretty much anything creative. We've had presenters locally, nationally, even some people from Japan, Canada, France. And we always appreciate diversity in thought, content, presenters. We love panels. That's a great way to really showcase diversity as well. And one thing I've always done from the beginning of Startup Week is think, what do I want to see? What do I want to hear about? What would make a good session? What would I attend? So that's what I always lead with. And then I think, who do I know? Who do I know? Do I know someone who knows someone that I can bring in here? And if you have ideas, if you have a connection, we can help you take it from there with logistics and creating an event or helping reach out to other panelists and so on. We love to ideate and brainstorm sessions. We are requesting video submissions for Design Track. And real quick, just want to say thank you to Brian Corrigan for being my co-chair for all of these years. He's still going to be submitting some sessions. And my new co-chair this year is Chad Person, who's actually been involved in Startup Week for a very long time, he's the creator of the Prospector and a lot of the experiential design at Basecamp with me. So welcome, Chad. He's going to tell you what we're thinking about specifically this year.
Yeah, thanks, Castle. So so I'm Chad Person. As Castle said, the Design Track is really multidimensional, but this year, if you're looking for ideas and you're wondering kind of what we're thinking about, we came up with a short list. I mean, basically after a year of languishing, surviving, dealing with change, sometimes forced change, what we really want to hear about is, how are we collectively nourishing our creative spirits, right? Are you okay? Better than okay? Have you completely reshaped the company that you're with, your creative entrepreneurship? We'd love to hear stories about surviving and thriving in this crazy world that's been turned upside down. Things that are going on new in UI and UX, especially because so much has gone virtual when previously a lot of companies, were perfectly happy to function offline, right? And then I think, any ideas and topics about what's really probably the most creative economy we've ever had in history, because the amount of dynamic and rapid change that's hit the world in the last year and a half has been just astounding. And of course, accessibility, and how that's affected things as well, both on and off screen, because not everything is a Zoom call. So yeah, we're looking forward to submissions. We're really excited to curate, whatever comes in, and we just want to hear your stories about how you're staying
creatively charged in such a unique moment in time. So show us, tell us, get weird. It's all good.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Connor Swanson, and I am the Developer Track Co-Chair. Excited to announce that Aaron Clark is also joining the Development Track team as a co-chair this year as well. You know, a bit about our track briefly, right? The Developer Track is fairly straightforward, and just as it sounds, you know, we focus on all things technical related to building products and companies. From front end to back end development to big data, APIs, architecture, machine learning, you name it. A lot of our content is focused on those areas. If it goes into making the products we love come to life, it's likely covered in our track. Aaron's also going to spend a few quick moments kind of talking around content that we're specifically interested as we move into this year.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. This year, we're looking for creative presentations that are speaking and talking about the changing demographics that we're seeing in the tech industry. We're all reading the news. We're seeing that equity, diversity, inclusion are all important topics integral to the success of technical companies. So we want to hear how maybe you're speaking to that in your organization, maybe you're speaking to that and some of the thoughts that you're having. We really want to speak to how we're dealing with entry-level developers, people that are coming in and from non-traditional backgrounds. We want to see those things to come out, and we understand that there are a lot of different ways that you can present this topic. So we're looking for that the creative flair to what you're delivering this year. And we're hoping that this will help not only the folks that are with your organization, but the folks that are going to be listening to this track, across the nation, hopefully, past that. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And we're hopefully looking for some really good sessions this year. And I'll turn it back over to Olivia.
Hi, everyone. Again, it's Olivia with the Founder Track. The Founder Track is kind of broad because we are for founders. And I mentioned before, all the way from somebody who is working a full-time job but wants to start a business or thinks they want to start a business, to the solopreneur, the entrepreneur, co-founder, and CEO. A couple things that I am always looking for. I'm always looking for really great diversity and really good panels. I gravitate towards session submissions that have panels that are panel focused, or maybe 3 people having a conversation, or even 2 people that complement each other. Think collaboration. I rarely bring in and approve a session that is a single person presenting. And I do not approve manels. Manels are panels that have only men. So think about your audience, think about who's going to be sitting out there or online watching your session, and can you start to represent your audience so that they feel like they see themselves on the stage? That's really important. The other thing I'll say is last year, as we were pushing through COVID or in COVID and pushing through COVID, there was a lot of submissions around the notion of pivoting, which was great, and we really needed that. So I want to encourage everyone to think the next step. What is that, I guess, 2.0 or 3.0 post-COVID, or as we are in the latter parts of COVID? So we've pivoted, and now what do businesses and founders need to understand and do to maybe rebound and to gain their business back? How can we be creative? So think about some of those things. I'm so excited to see all of your submissions, and best of luck. John Wilker.
All right. Hey, everyone. I am John Wilker, the head wrangler of our Spotlight and headline events track. The Spotlight track is our curated kind of big ideas track. It's those ideas that deserve to have, well, a spotlight shined on them. And it's topics that focus on what's currently going on in the city and the state and the world around us. Topics that span our various tracks and mash those up. I was going to go through and give a list of things that I would love to see. And I realized in looking at previous years, none of the things that shined through in those years were things I was expecting. Healthcare innovation, voting innovation, founder identity and mental health, all of the DSW pitch event, all the events that bubble up into that, women in venture capital, things like that. So that said, get creative, get out of the box, as it were. Think about stuff that we aren't talking about yet, but should be. That's what stuff goes in the Spotlight track. And remember, the Spotlight track is a curated track. We don't put that out to the public voting. It's just kind of where I want to see things go. And so with that in mind, good luck and may the force be with you. Take it away, Jake, our growth track chair.
Thanks, John. That was a traumatic background for me personally, but I run the growth track at Denver Startup Week. We are focused on all things sales, marketing, and customer success and beyond. Things to grow your business and drive revenue. So what I'm looking for in particular is new techniques in sales, marketing, and customer success. I do want to highlight some topics that may be undercovered because we tend to see that some topics again and again and every year, and that's great, but there are also some needs that we tend not to get covered. So particularly this year, I know that there will be a lot of perspectives on changes occurring in MarTech, cookies, app tracking, transparency, etc. that's going on that's going to change a lot of marketing, and would love some great sessions on that. And it'll definitely boost you higher in my list. That goes as well for sales forecasting. We have pretty poor representation around sales forecasting. It's something really important for growing companies to master. As well, product marketing has been underrepresented in past years and would love to hear some more about it. I'm always looking for insightful and thoughtful content. Stories and personal experiences are given extra credit. I receive over 300 submissions every year and can only accept about 15 of those. So stand out and show the value of your session. Really helps me out. Sessions about how to pitch might work, but as mentioned earlier, pitching will not. So guide people in teaching them how to do something, not talking about yourself, will definitely get extra points. But excited to hear amazing things. Make it really hard for me to pick sessions. Over to Javon.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Javon Taylor. I'm the co-chair of the Maker Track, co-chairing with Michael Ostro, my man. This year, we're looking to, Maker Track is pretty broad, but this year we're really looking for creativity, innovation, and sustainability. Even if you're in the idea phase, we're still looking forward to hearing from you, and we're looking for makers that are making things from now, for now, and in the future. We're super excited. I think Maker Track is one of the newer tracks to Denver Startup Week, and we're looking forward to building, entering a new year. This year, Maker Track is looking for, new innovative ideas that are brought to the table, as well as like new tech products, recreational products, 3D printing, environmentally conscious, and much more. As the world is constantly changing, I think our challenge to the Maker's Track in their submissions is to present an idea that has long-term impact, covering supply chains, manufacturing, unique partnerships, new industry practices, et cetera. But looking forward to having you part of Denver Startup Week 2021, and I will hand it over to Silver and Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Boydell. I'm one of the co-chairs of this year's People Track. We have big goals this year to make the People Track bigger and better with many different topics about all things people. Our favorite thing about this track is that it connects us all. Every single person that attends Denver Startup Week can connect with one of the topics that we hope to choose for our track. We want to make sure all sessions are filled with expert knowledge speakers, insights, and values needed to build inclusive cultures, teams, and communities. I'm going to let my co-chair, Ashley Cloud, take it from here and help get you thinking about ideas that you can submit for the People Track this year.
Hey y'all, thanks so much for joining. So, we're looking for relevant topics of things that are going on right now and things that we think that people are going to want to learn about 5 months from now. How to hire remotely and scale a startup is always a solid one. I would love to hear something about what are the actions we're taking with DE&I and what are the results behind those actions. I think that as a society and a community, we are past having good intentions. So let's move forward and let's talk about actions and results. How do you build community and have fun while being, a hybrid team of remote and also in the office? What are some things that we go through as just humans, right? People Track is a mix of like practical application and scaling and building startups, but also it's like we're people, right? And like we're humans and we all have like emotions that we go through. So, imposter syndrome, burnout, self-care, how do you lead in the midst of pain and mourning? just think about the things that you and your team or your company are going through. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that. You know, we love to hear success stories from the pandemic, you know, couple founders, relationships, parenting and starting up, you know, similar to what Jake said, make this hard for us. We also only have very limited spots and we get a lot of submissions. You know, events, party in the park, you know, host an event, a small gathering, maybe by your house, at a park near your house. Watch theme parties could be fun. You know what I also like for us to just encourage more joy in this season as we get to reconnect, hopefully in person and also virtually. And, you know, I encourage you to take a screenshot of this. And yeah, so Emma and I are also available for office hours. If anyone is interested in that from the People Track side, we would love to answer your questions instead of answering your emails. So with that, we are actually going to move to Q&A. Thank you so much for being so interactive and engaging while this whole thing has been going on. If you'd like, also, you can take a screenshot of these emails here if you want to reach out to anyone specifically. I know several of the questions that we had that came through is this is a recorded event, so we'll be happy to send it out. Also, yes, you can absolutely submit for the pitch competition and do sessions. Someone also asked the question, what's a good amount of people for a panel? And, you know, Ryan answered this really well. A great panel can be 2 to 5 people. Generally not more than that, because you want to make sure everyone also has talk time, as well as you want to make sure that you have a good moderator. I highly encourage you to practice all of those questions with your panel before the day of your session. And let's see what else is going on, y'all. Open questions. Is there opportunity to get guidance as to where my session may fit? Right now, the topics I fit. Yes. So Dina, I would, you know, encourage you to reach out to whoever you think might be the right person or people for that as far as email. Yeah, that's a great question. Ryan, I'm still a bit confused about in-person versus virtual will work. Can you give me a couple of examples, please? Absolutely. So last year, you know, fortunately, we were able to still hold Denver Startup Week, and we did all of our sessions virtually. So what that means is that you could sit here in your room while your dog is rolling around the ground and like watch a session. Or this year, what we want to do is potentially host watch parties at restaurants and continue to also feed back into the economy. So we're working on that. We just don't know exactly what the future will hold in the next 5 months as far as larger gatherings, but we hope to be able to reconnect in person. So I don't know, Ryan, hopefully that helps. We're still figuring it out. We just also ask that you give all of us grace. We are a bunch of volunteers, so sometimes, just like in the startup world, we are figuring it out as we go. So
can I add something about virtual real quick?
Please do.
So as you're thinking about your sessions, please do plan for your sessions to be virtual. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to have them virtual and accessible and recorded. And if there's going to be an in-person watch party, that may or may not be your live event. So as you're thinking about putting your content together, please make sure that it's something that can be consumed via Zoom and through a virtual format. And then if it absolutely cannot be, reach out to whomever you think it probably is a John Wilker track thing. But just as you're forming your sessions, please make sure you're thinking about how they're consumed virtually, and then we'll be able to think about and give more information about how the hybrid pieces will layer in as we move forward.
Awesome. We had a great question from Megan. What is the pitch competition versus the speaker sessions? Great question. There is a pitch competition at Denver Startup Week that is similar to Shark Tank, where you can win money at the end. So that's different. And then sessions are kind of the talks that we do daily, Monday through Friday. Hopefully that helps. What else, friends? Will there be interactive workshops that involve attendees? That is a great question. We had different people that would do webinars similar to this. Oh, and we also had people that did workshops. I personally got a lot out of the workshops where you could actually see people's faces and like be involved and have that connection. So that's really up to you and or that session speaker.
I can add a little bit more on that to sort of bridge another question that I saw in chat about platform. So last year we made use of Zoom for all of the pieces that we had in place for interactive sessions. We're planning on doing roughly the same this year. With that, our primary delivery mechanism for that was the Zoom webinar product, which is what you all are seeing today. But we do have a whole bunch of tools available as part of that sort of help with that interactive side of things with attendees that we would love for you to take advantage of. So Q&A, polls, breakout rooms, things like that. All of those are totally options, and we'd love you to be creative and sort of take full advantage of that. So if you have ideas or ways that you want to take advantage of that platform to do something that's super specific to deliver the experience that you have in mind, then we would love to work with you to make that happen, and you'll have sort of the full capabilities of the platform to make that work. We do, generally speaking, sort of simulcast where it's possible, the online events as well as, or the event in Zoom as well as to YouTube Live. So we sort of have this dual audience model where we've got folks who are in the virtual room, as it were, who can participate actively, as well as folks who are more sort of passively tuning in. So you don't necessarily have to optimize for it, but it's a useful piece of info as you're sort of planning your session. You can have sort of both of those options available for audiences to engage with you.
Seeing a question from Candace, can you have a Q&A for your session? Yes, please. That's actually usually a pretty dynamic part of the session and very informative for your attendees. So definitely would encourage you to have a Q&A if it's something you're comfortable with, and feel free to plan on it.
Hey, Jake, one other good question I answered in the Q&A there, but I think Ashley was asking if you have to have your entire panel filled out yourself, or if Denver Startup Week can help you fill in panelists to participate. And we can definitely help you with that. You know, ideally, you have a vision for how you want to deliver this content to the community, and that you have, you know, kind of partners in crime, so to speak, that can help you do that. But if you're looking for additional perspectives, we can absolutely help, and wouldn't want to kind of discourage submissions because you're not completely sure who all 3 to 5 people would be on your panel. So definitely submit, and we can help you kind of fill that out along the way.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. And also, we tend to have so many awesome submissions that we can't always choose everyone, but some of the people that didn't get submitted would still be a great panelist on someone else's talk. So we do tend to have kind of a large network of people looking for an opportunity to speak on a panel if needed. So yes, we're absolutely happy to help. So thank you for that, Ryan. Can you apply as an individual speaker, but then also apply with others on a panel, 2 separate submissions? Absolutely, Shell. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Kind of like what Olivia said, there's just a difference between track chairs in if we will pick a solo speaker. If we do tend to pick a solo speaker, an individual, usually it's because we feel like that person is really, really qualified and they're going to do a dynamic session, and being able to do that by themselves. And then sometimes as a panel, you can have lots of different voices and perspectives, which can be beneficial as well. We're going to get more info on the maker track. Would reaching out to Michael and Javon be best? Absolutely, Justin. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Candace, for that suggestion. Yeah, so you can actually reach out to John Wilker for speaker suggestions for the Spotlight track. Abby, thank you so much. We're a venue, and I'm wondering if there's a place I can volunteer our space for either recording events or in person. Kate, I would love to get your feedback and what our thoughts are on that.
Yes, so we are definitely looking for venues to do some recording and perhaps in person, depending on capacity and the events that we do. So Abby, if you can reach out to Chantel or myself via the sponsorship link there, we are happy to talk through that more. And if anyone else on the line has a venue either that they'd like to recommend for a watch party or would like to learn more about sponsorship, please reach out there. We also, I saw a note about the job fair, and there's been a couple notes about the pitch competition. We are planning to do a job fair again this year, so be on the lookout for that this summer, as well as the pitch competition. Additional details on that will be announced this summer as well. So lots of fun things to come. And yeah, Ash, back to you.
Great. So can you please put those emails out via chat or somewhere so we can get a copy of the relevant names and emails? Quick question to my team. We will be sending this out as a recorded session. Kate, Chantel, can we also maybe send the screenshot of these emails with that? Is that an option?
Yes, so this will all be available. You can also find us info at Denver Startup Week. We'll send you in the right direction, and we'll make sure that everyone gets a copy of the slide deck that has both the schedule in it. The schedule is important. Of course, session submissions open May 10th, so 1 week from yesterday, and then how to reach out to all of our amazing team members.
Yeah. I think John is currently answering how many spotlight sessions will there be. John, you want to answer that live for us?
Yeah, as many as woodchuck could chuck. No, there's no set number. It just kind of varies. I try and go for 2 to 3 a day, but it kind of it changes a lot depending on what gets submitted and our format as well. I got more in last year than I did in previous years because I spread them out a little bit more throughout the day. So it just kind of varies, but there's at least 2 a day, usually 3.
Just to see your question about when sessions close, they close June 11th. So excited to hear your submissions and get them in by then.
Yeah, awesome. Chantel, do you mind going back to the calendar view? And that way we can encourage everyone to just take a quick screenshot of that. And that way you can send it around to your team. And again, it will be in the follow-up email. And so, yeah, if that is it, looks like we don't have any more questions. We are so honored and grateful that you joined us. You know, one, just like being a part of this community. This is our 10th year of Denver Startup Week, and we're so grateful that we still keep getting to do it and that people are interested and we have new momentum all the time. And thank you so much just for joining today and taking the hour to like learn about what's next. And as we figure out new things, we do have a couple more questions coming in. Do you have to participate in a session to do the pitch competition? No, Justin, but thank you for asking. Is there any information on the demographics and age group of the participants? I think that we do have some of that information. I don't know if we fully make it public because it's also not full data. Kate, do we actually send that out?
If you have a specific question, feel free to email us, the info at denverstartupweek.org, and we can get back to you with whatever you are looking for.
Great. Awesome. All right, y'all. We appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of our awesome community to give first. And we're just grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.